Samuel Garcia had once been called a wall. For years, commentators praised his reflexes, his calm under pressure, and his uncanny ability to read the game seconds before it unfolded. He stood tall between the posts, trusted by teammates, feared by strikers, and loved by fans. Football was not just his profession, it was his identity. Until one moment shattered everything. The championship final was meant to crown his career. The stadium roared, the lights burned bright, and millions watched as the clock ticked into stoppage time. The score was tied. One last attack. One harmless-looking shot. Samuel moved too early. The ball slipped past his gloves, rolling slowly into the net like a cruel whisper. Silence fell for a heartbeat, then exploded into disbelief. The referee blew the whistle. The match was over. And Samuel's life, as he knew it, ended there. In the days that followed, his name became synonymous with failure. Clips of the mistake played endlessly. Memes mocked him. Commentators dissected the moment with cold precision. Fans who once chanted his name now cursed it. Samuel stopped leaving his house. At night, he replayed the goal in his mind again and again, imagining different outcomes. If only he had waited. If only he had trusted his instincts. If only he had been better. He stopped training with conviction. His hands felt heavy, his legs sluggish. Confidence drained from him like blood from an open wound. Coaches noticed. Opportunities faded. Contracts disappeared. The worst enemy, however, lived inside him. Samuel could not forgive himself. He believed he had betrayed his team, his country, and the boy he once was. Football, once a source of joy, became a reminder of shame. Faith, which he had never taken seriously, felt distant and irrelevant. He stopped praying if he ever truly had. One evening, after months of isolation, Samuel received a message from Daniel Ortiz, a former teammate. Daniel had left professional football years earlier, choosing a quieter life, coaching youth teams and volunteering at a local church. Daniel asked simply, "How are you really doing?" Samuel ignored the message for hours, then days. Eventually, exhaustion won. He replied honestly, "I'm broken." They met at a small cafe far from stadiums and cameras. Daniel looked peaceful, grounded in a way Samuel couldn't understand. They spoke about football at first, then silence took over. Finally, Daniel said something unexpected. "Have you ever asked Jesus to help you forgive yourself?" Samuel scoffed softly. "I don't need religion. I need to undo one mistake." Daniel didn't argue, it just nodded. "Jesus doesn't erase the past," he said gently, "but he redeems it." The words lingered. That night, alone in his apartment, Samuel sat on the edge of his bed. For the first time, he spoke not to the media, not to fans but into the silence. "If you're real," he whispered, "I don't know how to live with this." "No," thunder answered. No vision appeared, but something shifted. Daniel began inviting Samuel to quiet church gatherings, not services filled with crowds, but small rooms with prayer and honesty. Samuel listened, skeptical but curious. He heard teachings about grace, about forgiveness not earned but given. Jesus' words unsettled him. "Neither do I condemn you. How many times should I forgive? 70 times 7. Slowly, Samuel realized something painful and freeing. He had demanded perfection from himself that even God did not demand. Forgiveness, he learned, was not denial of failure, it was release from its prison. Weeks turned into months. Samuel began praying not for success, but for peace. He trained again, not to prove his worth, but to honor the gift he had been given. His hands grew steadier, his heart lighter. A second chance came quietly. A mid-table club offered him a short-term contract. No headlines, no guarantees, just opportunity. Samuel accepted. His return was not spectacular at first, but match by match, save by save, something remarkable happened. He played freely. When he conceded, he did not collapse. When Isabed, he did not boast. He played forgiven. Then came the match no one expected. A penalty shootout. The same pressure, the same spotlight. Samuel closed his eyes before the first kick, not to visualize success, but to pray. "Whatever happens," he whispered, "I trust you." He saved 2 penalties. His team won. This time, he did not raise his fists to the crowd. He knelt. The media noticed the change. Interviews followed. Samuel spoke openly, not about tactics, but about faith, about forgiveness, about Jesus. "I didn't lose my career because of one mistake," he said. "I lost it because I couldn't forgive myself. Jesus taught me how." In later years, Samuel transitioned into mentoring young goalkeepers. He taught them technique, yes, but more importantly, resilience. He spoke about faith not as superstition, but as foundation. "Your worth," he told them, "is not defined by one moment." Samuel Garcia never forgot the goal that broke him, but he no longer lived inside it. Through Jesus, he learned that even the worst mistakes can become testimonies and that forgiveness is the greatest save of all.